always. Dom, anything to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, Juventus Monza, Andrea Petagna, anytime goal scorer, lock it in.
You absolute freak. You sick freak.
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's fun and games till the fucking Italian Games Commission comes after you next. Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Hey, give me some clout. Any kind of exposure is good exposure, right?
Getting 3 to 5 years in federal prison for clout. We'll see you next week. Well, maybe Don might be calling from prison.
3 to 5 years? According to some of these influencers, it's a lot more than 3 to 5 years, man. 3 to 5 years is nothing.
Coming live
FGIC
from Fort Leavenworth Maximum Penitentiary. It's Top Bins. We'll see you next week, everybody.
What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the action from SerieA Premier League. I'm your host, Matt. Joining my co-host, Dom. Joining me live from prison.
Listen.
For insider trading.
Listen. I've already used my jail money to get some stuff smuggled in. Things are fine.
Donate Dom's Venmo so you get commissary funds.
Listen, I'm in a Romanian jail, so
it's all right. Relax. Relax, fucking Cobra Tate over there. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, money gets you everything over here, you know.
Yeah, okay. Dom's in prison because he correctly predicted Monza beating Juventus. He did say Andrea Petagna was going to score.
He was close.
I mean, yeah. Scaredly close, actually. So it's not up to us. It's an international affair at this point. I don't know. Interpol was involved. There was tax documents seized. It's honestly beyond me. But thankfully, he's able to join us still, and we're going to discuss a little bit. It was really only Serie A in action this weekend. We had the FA Cup weekend in England again. Really not much of note. We had the great Manchester City Arsenal game on Friday, which was great. It was a fun game, City beating Arsenal, but it was a little bit of a rotated team. Liverpool getting bounced by Brighton. What else is new? I just kind of at the end of my rope with this season, but yeah, it's going to be a more Italy and then transfer window kind of focus episode, because I think it's hard to take a lot away from the FA Cup stuff because it's not as Dom is peeking at the bars. Can you give us a little, put your hands up and give us a little whistle,
Trying to if I had a harmonica, that would be great.
Nobody knows. I feel like I should be passing you a book.
We give you a coffee cup to kind of just go along the the bars.
Remember, you did this to yourself.
Should I make this a little more realistic and put tally marks on my wall? would that be sufficient?
No, the way to make it realistic is if you have 6 packs of ramen in a plastic container that you crush hot Doritos into in water to make your prison meal.
Oh, the prison steaks.
Yeah, that's your. That's how you make this more realistic. Let's get to Italy, shall we? Napoli 2, Roma 1, the fixture of the weekend. It was a great game. I mean, it certainly delivered in terms of drama and goals and the quality of goals, which is, both these teams actually have been in a lot of great games this year. Obviously Napoli because of how good they've been, but Roma too have been in a lot of entertaining games. They've had this resilience about them, which I think has been impressive at times. Not so much today when they get bounced by Cremonese, but in the league, at least, they've had some big moments, and this was a game that felt like, they were going to maybe take a point away from. It was going to be a big statement from them, and it was going to be just a little bit of deflation on Napoli's title charge. They get a late goal, Napoli does, which wins the game. You get a fantastic Victor Osimhen goal, which is just highlight reel kind of stuff. And
ridiculous.
I think my takeaway from this game is they're going to win the title. This is it. This is where, it's just getting harder and harder as the, the weeks pile on now. We just eclipsed the halfway point of the season, but it is just hard to see this team relinquishing this lead. And, when they put on performances like this, we talked a little bit after when they lost to Inter, like, do we think they could collapse? I feel like collectively we kind of said no, but like, let's see. They're still playing the season. They've answered that test. They've answered that failure in that game against Inter just like beautifully. Like they've just continued to pour it on, play well. It did not seem to affect them. They had that huge game against Juventus, and that really felt for me like the turning point where it's like, yeah, this is just their mental state is so much better than teams we've seen in the past. That maybe would crumble under that pressure. And it was just a fantastic win. And it's like I said, it's getting hard to believe that they're not going to win this title.
The team that wins the title, when you get to around this point in the season, you can kind of tell because they get to these big games and they just feel comfortable, right? When you have a team that just looks comfortable and can handle the game and doesn't panic whatsoever, even when a team gets a goal back and ties it and equalizes, like they just go out. The quality that they're bringing off the bench compared to the quality Mourinho was bringing off the bench was just, night and day. And I think that plays a big part in Napoli's success is they're a deep team. We talk so much about, their attack, their midfield, but the players that are coming in off the bench for those players are also no slouches. You got to remember Giovanni Simeone lit the league on fire over like the last 2 or 3 years playing at Verona.
We were talking about Simeone this summer too, because he was available and it was like, who's going to get this? Now, Italy's a little different, right? Because money is not as free-flowing, which is something we'll talk about later. But, as it is in other leagues, and, there's registration stuff. Teams are kind of spinning a lot of plates this summer in terms of, when and who they could add, and they had to wait till other things cleared out. But, Simeone was, a player that just felt like a great option for, a top 4, top 6 team to kind of claim and either start or have this great sort of, change of pace toward type of striker. And he's paid dividends. He paid dividends in the Champions League, especially. He came on and changed a lot of games and really influenced, their group stage action. And then in this one too, he gets a winner of a game that could prove really crucial. He has come up. He has not, again, maybe had he had 17, 18 goals in the league last year. He hasn't had that type of season, but when he's been asked to come on, typically he scored, which is a huge boost.
I think also we always praise the midfield, and I think this is the engine for Napoli. The way this midfield plays now is just so good. And I mean, Zielinski has kind of stepped up as the man, especially, with Fabian leaving. He's just been running it for them. And everybody's talking about Kvaratskhelia and how good he is. We got to talk about Victor Osimhen. I think he's, one of the top 5 strikers in the world right now. Would you even say top 3? The way he's been playing, leads the league in goals. Some of the goals he's scoring are just absolutely ridiculous. His work rates, just what he offers to the team is just next level. I think, he plays in Italy. He plays for Napoli. Yes, they are league leaders. But, I feel like a lot of players from Italy are always underrated. They always have to prove themselves the entire season, and then they kind of start getting looked at as this top talent. You know what I mean? Like Rafael Leao.
I was just took the words right out of my mouth.
It's the same thing this season with him. I mean, he's stepped up to that next level. It helps when your team signs 2 other guys that could play striker that were very good for their respective teams. Both we talked about Simeone, but they also signed Raspadori, who's no slouch and was one of Sassuolo's top players last season. He's just taken his game to that next level. Pretty much a world-class striker.
Not even pretty much. He is. And first of all, I remember our discussions about Osimhen last year and saying, this guy is great. And it became a problem because they were very dependent on him in the second half of last season. I think it was one of the many reasons why. I think there were multiple reasons, but it was one of the reasons why they fell off the title race last season, because they really didn't have another good offensive outlet. He was relied on so much, and we profiled some players this summer. People are welcome to go back in the catalogs and look at that, and we talked about him and Scamacca, and I felt that both of them really needed to stay in Italy another season. I felt that Osimhen was probably more ready to make the change. I really felt like Scamacca should have stayed then, and I feel vindicated in that. Now, there's still plenty of time for him to change his career, but it has not been a good first 6 months at West Ham so far. Osimhen is he has exploded this year. He was great last year. Like you said, he's one of the top strikers in Europe this season. What he's able to do, how he's able to influence games, great improviser too. Like this is just something that he's just great at like shaping his body to control balls, to get onto things that you just don't expect him to do. Great anticipator, like just all the traits that you want in a striker he has. Like he's top level for me. I'm really looking forward to see honestly how they do in the Champions League as well. Because, it feels like we've lost that in all this too. Like we're talking about like teams that could win it. I would say there's no team in Europe right now that really feels like dominating that is in the Champions League, right? Like Real Madrid have lulled a little bit. They're not the usual selves. You can never count them out, of course, but they're not having one of those Madrid seasons just like they are just blowing teams away. They could certainly, we've seen it a million times. Bayern Munich have not been incredible this season. They've been good, but not at the standard we're kind of used to seeing Bayern Munich. Like it's not the standard we typically associate with them. And we'll see how they develop over the course of the season, how they might improve, whatever. Manchester City have had like really good spike games. They're a team I wouldn't take a lot of pleasure in playing in a Champions League knockout tie, but defensively they seem like maybe a little lost. You can get at them. Liverpool have taken a huge step back this season. They're not a team that I think teams are afraid of playing right now, and are probably going to get knocked out by Real Madrid. Like just go down the list. Like the Champions League is like, I'm not trying to, but like, is there, I don't know that there's a team that is in the final 16 that is in better shape, that has everyone healthy right now, finger crossed. But, and Champions League is back in 2 weeks. Like, are you telling me there's a team that's playing better than Napoli right now?
I think
there isn't.
I think people forget, like, how Napoli just ran their group. The entire group stage.
Not an easy group.
No, and I don't think there was a more successful team in the group stage than Napoli, and it just gets overlooked. Right? It's just like, oh, yeah, whatever. Everybody's paying attention to the quote-unquote bigger teams. This is the team to beat. This is the team to beat. I mean, they're one of the top teams in the Champions League. They're the top team in Italy, and they've been the top team all season. This result basically shows that they're going to go on and win. I was talking to Phil on Twitter because I was going on a little Milan rant, and he was like, I'm enjoying this. Let me know when you're going to end. And I just responded. I was like, congratulations on the Scudetto. You guys got it. He told me to shut up. Everybody's talking about this now, so it's a big jinx, superstitious Italians. But
especially the southern Italians are very.
So I'm gonna keep saying it. Hope that Milan can somehow regain second place. But oh god, I'm gonna have to pray to every saint and Jesus himself for that to happen. So. Credit to Napoli. I mean, they're just. Insane.
I'm gonna look it up right now, and I might just throw a live bet on this because I've convinced myself even. Because if Napoli's Champions League odds, I'm not betting them for SerieA. There's no value in that. I'm telling you right now, their Champions League odds are gonna be like plus 5,000, and it's the dumbest thing you could buy. They play Frankfurt, who are a good team. A lot of respect to Frankfurt. Napoli are a much better team than Frankfurt in the Champions League in this next stage. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be so disrespectful to do what you just did, because that is inviting pain and suffering onto thyself. But I've really just convinced myself that I think Napoli have a as good of a shot as anyone. Okay, a little bit more respect than I expected. They're plus 1,200, but even still, like
that's not too bad. But
come on, man, this is clearly one of the best teams in Europe right now. Like clearly, like they. I know they haven't had
$50 bet on that.
I know they haven't had the like prestige and like pedigree of the last few years of being like a regular Champions League team in the knockout stages, things like that. But I don't know, man. It feels a lot like the Atalanta team in the COVID year, where you don't maybe in the league, not a team, but Napoli are obviously great in the league, but like maybe in the league, not the best team, but in a situation like this in just 2 games, and then during the COVID year they obviously had it was just 1 knockout game and that was it. And Atalanta almost knocked out PSG that season. It was great. Napoli are a team like that though, where it's like, I don't know, man. Do you really want to play this team like in a knockout situation? Not particularly. Like they can beat you in so many ways. Yeah, they can obviously have a bad night too, but I don't know. I just think Napoli are in a good way, and I'm really looking forward to the second half of the season.
Good European teams have good depth in there, through their bench, and that's something that Napoli has. So I can only bode success for them in the later stages in a European tournament.
All right. Well, we talked a lot of positive. Let's get a little negative.
Did we have to?
We don't have to. I mean, we don't have to. We don't have to do anything. We got to talk about it a little bit, though. We got to give us. All right.
This is therapy session, right?
It's 8:15:25 when we're starting this conversation. At 8:19:25, I'll move us on no matter where we're at. So it's as limited exposure as possible. Milan
This is therapy, man.
Get their backs blown out by Sassuolo. And this has just been a reoccurring theme, honestly, since Milan came back from the World Cup break. They have just not looked good in almost any way, and it kind of defies belief. Because really, I mean, the injuries that they have are the injuries that they've been carrying all season. It's not like they've really had anything new. I'm at a loss for words a little bit with this, especially defensively, which is how they won Scudetto last year. It's not been there at all. A lot of conceding. I can just feel your pain for these bars, brother.
The injuries, the nagging injury to Tomori and the rotation that has to happen with Gabbia is just literally awful. Kier is not as consistent. Same thing with Kalulu. Calabria has just been absolutely awful. The last few games, Teo Hernandez just looks like he doesn't want to play soccer anymore, especially this game against Sassuolo. His mistakes led to a couple goals. I mean, he wasn't even tracking back. I'm pretty sure the second goal, where Berardi makes that nice little cross to the far post. Both of the pivot midfielders were the farthest men back. I don't know what to say about the fullbacks in this position. We had two center backs on the guy with the ball. Fullbacks were nowhere to be seen. It was terrible. Pobega gets more playing time than a guy like Adley. I mean, the signings that were brought in as players that were supposed to, help bolster the team have not gotten any sort of time. Granted, Milan did get a little unlucky. They were a little sloppy with their offensive execution. A couple goals were called offsides. I mean, they still don't have a right winger. I really do believe that De Catalari could be put in that right wing position. He played there in Belgium. I mean, there's something has to change. I don't know what it is. It doesn't help when it doesn't help where ever since this losing streak has happened for Milan. I think now you can fact check me on this, but I think they've conceded as many goals as they did up to this point last season. I'm pretty sure it's something like that. It's some crazy stat.
They've conceded all the goals that they conceded in the total of last year. They've already conceded up to this point this year.
It's either that or to this point that we're at this year, at the same point last year. That's how many goals they had total, up to that point in the season.
I would be shocked because they've conceded 29 goals. And again, they in the last 10 games of last season, they conceded 3. That was, again, I keep going back to it, but it's just so bizarre to me. That is literally how this team won the title last year, was by not giving up goals.
It's just night and day. I mean, of course, it doesn't help when your starting goalkeeper is still out, but I mean, Tatarusanu is so inconsistent. He makes some good saves, and then other times his brain doesn't work, and he doesn't go after, doesn't put his arm out.
So Milan last year conceded 31 goals
all season
through the course of the whole season. So they're already,
But I think at this point in the season, but regardless, by this point, total, Milan have conceded more goals probably than they did all last year.
Well done. We got 25 seconds.
Okay, this is the last thing I have to say. The owners don't want to put any kind of money. I'm tired of missing out on players in the transfer market for a couple $1 million just for them to get,
brother, preach to me.
Just for them to get paid out by a Premier League team that's mid-table for 10 times the price. Crazy to me that Enzo Fernandez could have been bought by Milan for 18 mil, and then Chelsea goes out and spends 10 times the amount almost to bring him over just because he won the World Cup.
No, Don, it's actually crazy. It's actually good that Chelsea have spent more than the Bundesliga, SerieA, Liga, and La Liga combined 3 times over. It's actually a really good and healthy thing. It's actually totally cool, very legal, very normal. Don't look into the fact that they're giving their players 11-year contracts. It's totally normal, totally legal, totally fair. Everyone's on the same playing ground. All right, don't worry about it.
I also have to laugh at Hakim Ziyech because he passed on us, and then there was going to be a straight-out loan move to PSG that fell through. Again, I don't know what happened with Milan. They should have got that done. Traore, my boy from Sassuolo, made a move. I'm pretty sure to England.
Yeah, I think he went to Bournemouth.
What's Milan doing there? They're like Sassuolo's selling to relegation sides in England when he could have been starting at the right wing for the second place team in Italy. Like, this is what I'm talking about, man. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's Maldini. I think it's that he doesn't have any money. You can't make money if you don't invest money.
Okay, but have Milan just consider like getting their bread up, because that would actually be pretty helpful if they just
I mean,
they just got a lot more money.
We just got a new owner. I don't know what's going on with.
Have you guys considered that your Russian billionaire owner sells your club and erases $1.2 billion in debt? Have you guys considered just doing that? I mean, it's that easy. Just do that. That's what Chelsea did.
10th place in the Prem. That's what it buys you.
I would actually probably end it all if Liverpool were 10th place. Thank God they're only 9th.
Let's talk about these transfer roundups just in general, because literally
I just wanted to mention how right you were, because I knew you're going to be sad about Milan losing. So I just included this. We could just revisit. It's the reason you're in jail today. How right you were about Monza beating Juventus.
Listen,
I know, but I just wanted to give it again. I knew you need this little boost.
They are above Juventus in the table now. You want to talk like we're making fun of Chelsea being 10th place.
Okay, well let's not ignore the reason that Juventus are.
You want to talk about something funny? Juventus is just falling down the table. Monza, who I did call preseason was going to overperform or be your surprise team of the season. Look what's happening. Galani in the stands.
Yeah, you really stuck your neck out on a limb on the team that's expended the most money of a promotion team ever. Like, you really laid out for that one.
Well, look who was funneling them the money. I mean, legal or illegal funds. It doesn't matter.
I'm gonna ask you a question that I don't know that you want to answer. Berlusconi offers to come back and invest in the team.
I'm already in jail right now, aren't I? Let's go. Bring it back. Come on. I will take that.
Forgive and forget.
And forget. All the attaccare, speeches in the locker room and whatnot, they can keep coming as long as the players come, because we're paying them out the wazoo. Like, if he can just show up to a meeting with a player in like Ibiza and just smack a briefcase on a table and pop it open full of money, like, and Berlusconi just goes like this, like, here it is. And we could bring everybody in, so be it. Like,
the FBI listening right now is just absolutely elated that you're laying this all out for
listen,
them.
if the money comes in, all I hope that it is that it's handled correctly. I've seen what happens when the money's handled incorrectly. Remember the We Are So Rich era? It looks like we're back in it. Like, when you splash millions and millions on 9 players who are supposed to be the magnificent 9 that you bring in to overhaul the team, and they're still shit. Like, I don't know the right answer. I don't think that any Milan fan knows the right answer. And
no,
it's just I feel like there's a bit of an overreaction that's going on, but I think that's only because we won the title last year.
I think Milan will probably find their footing through the course of the season. It's just worrying because they're losing their form when everyone else is really picking it up. And, you have Juventus now that is, through points deduction, dropped out of the top 4 race, which makes it even, in a strange way, even though there's one less team competing, it's made it feel even more competitive now, because it's like, okay, like, everyone recognizes now that there's a real opportunity to make the Champions League, which is just a huge boost for everyone's revenue. It's so important to a lot of clubs. So, yeah, obviously things get really tough now. Let's talk a little transfer stuff. Why don't we? Because the transfer window closed. This is going to be we didn't talk about the Premier League in the first half, but it's buckle up, because here we go. Because that's pretty much all there's. I looked at every single transfer from SerieA, and there was just. I mean, I'm gonna be very honest. A lot of respect. Llorente's the only one from Leeds to Roma that I think is even like worth discussing. But even then, it's like he's a center back depth. Premier League's the only league that spent insane amounts of money, and there's just so much to talk through here. So I just wrote down the most interesting ones. This one came out of absolutely nowhere. I woke up to this the other day. João Cancelo to Bayern on loan.
On a straight loan.
Straight loan with an option to buy. No loan fee either. They're just paying his wages. Apparently, João Cancelo and Pep have had some issues this season. Hasn't been at his best, and I have to think that's all tied in some way. what? It's like it's no news, like João Cancelo's had some
crazy.
of these attitude issues earlier in his career. Part of his reason for his Juventus exit was that there was some attitude stuff there. It seems like he just like demands to be playing all the time, starting all the time, and also like maybe when as a fullback he took the number 7, maybe that should have been the red flag. That's like maybe he's actually kind of a prick. I don't know, but that's going to be fascinating when you're talking about Bayern, because obviously fullback depth has not been something they've had the luxury of. If he's playing at right back too, that's been a position that they've been trying to sort of find that missing piece. Pavard is not really the best right back. He's more of like a center back, but
especially with the way that Bayern play too, because they like their fullbacks attacking. So, it's a really good signing for them. I mean, again, you want to talk about, when I saw this happen, I was like, when I saw it was a straight loan, I'm like, it's that easy. That's Maldini's bread and butter. Like,
yeah, it's that easy. That easy. Just pay his crazy wages and, and have a realistic chance of winning the Champions League and the league all at the same time.
Yeah, right. But nah, that's literally nuts. I mean, now they have two of some of the top fullbacks in the world, like just bombarding down the sides. Bayern's always such a sneaky team because they play in Germany and they just kind of coast to the title most years. It's like nobody.
Maybe not this year. Who knows?
I feel like the casual soccer fan, if they don't watch the Bundesliga, like they don't really start paying attention to Bayern until like the Champions League, like semifinals. Like it always seems to be that way because it's always like, oh, will Bayern get to the final of the Champions League? That's the only thing that matters now. Like, because it's kind of it's crazy. But I think
title race is pretty on in Germany. I'll say that. Like first to fifth is only separated by 3 points. Now it's Bayern. We've seen them do this year and year, but whatever.
But they're also without their talisman striker now, and who's not putting out like 5 goals a game.
Sadio Mane's not had the greatest year at Bayern. I get it. Chelsea are the biggest story of the January transfer window. They spent I think it was like £280 million this winter. Just
basically enough to feed an entire country.
Yeah, when you start thinking about it like that, it gets even more grim. But they spent big. Again, a big part of this is the fact that their debt wiped. When Abramovich sold the club, and they are doing this kind of figure skating dance where they're giving players like 7-8 year long contracts, which helps spread the fees out and make their books more balanced. They signed Enzo Fernandez, who was someone they were pursuing post World Cup. It felt like it had cooled off, and they weren't willing to spend the release clause that Benfica had set. They were able to finagle that by adding on to the price, like beyond the release clause, for them to accept it in installments to make it easier on them. It's insane. I mean, even if you go back to like Chelsea's spending when Abramovich first bought the club in like 2003, like it's just they just never stopped. Like they just never stopped buying players this January. It's just insane. And
it's the Chelsea MO, isn't it? Like they're buying all these players, and guess what's going to happen? A good percentage of them are going to go out on loan, and then they're never going to get a chance at Chelsea, and they're going to get like sold. And
the problem is they haven't been getting sold. Like that's okay.
Yeah,
so here's the huge risk that they are taking. 7-8 year contract works amazing if that player is like a steal for you and they're great. It's never going to work that way though. Because if they have 2 good years, you're going to have to renegotiate that contract because they're going to demand, and probably rightly so, they should be paid more. And then you're going to have this conflict where you're going to have to renegotiate the deal. Then someone else is going to renegotiate it. Or Real Madrid wants to buy whoever. Barcelona wants to buy whoever. Bayern wants to buy whoever. And you're going to have to like renegotiate these things now. And then if they don't work, which by the way, great teams that are great at transfer business. You know what like their general record on like what you would consider a good signing is? It's like 60 to 70%. That's like elite teams. Teams like Liverpool, when they were at their very best in recruiting, were like 70% of their players were like working out, and it was good and it was great. You could name like 1 or 2 misses out of like a dozen. That's unheard of. That is unheard of ability to sign players. If you just do like by the mean, it's like 50. It's like 50-50 a lot of times. And we all know this as fans. We all see it all the time. Like the guys that you think are going to be great and they just don't work out, and it's not always their fault. So many different circumstances. When you're signing like 8 players 8, 9, 10 players now to these 8-year contracts, this shit is going to catch up with you.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to be buying these guys out of deals in their last 3 or 4 seasons, probably. Like, it's just...
You beat me to that
insane,
point, because I was
management.
going to say the same exact thing. They're making these insane sums over, like these are deals you see like that happen in the NBA, like where you can kind of get away with
The
it.
NBA, you can't even sign an 8-year contract.
It's that's how ridiculous these things are. Like I can't wait to see it come and bite Chelsea in the ass. Like they're either going to have a mass liquidation to pay off their debts and not be able to sign a lot of people, and they're going to be struggling once again, or like financial fair play. Like where do we see like the future of this Chelsea in like 4 or 5 years?
It's they're like just going all in on the fact that they don't have debt, so they can rack some up, right? And debt is different when you're a business than when you're like an individual, right? Like debt with a business and like a big corporation is actually good. Like to have it. Listen, I'm not an economics person. I know like through all this, like debt is not the worst thing to have. In fact, it could be a healthy thing for companies to have. But like it's just, to me, when you're talking about like a sporting sense, it's just a huge gamble to take on this many players. And when you're signing, Kepa is at the club and is an example of how poorly this can go. They signed him to a 7-year contract, and a year and a half in, it was like, this sucks. This sucks. He's not good. We want to get off of him. He has no incentive to leave because he has 6.5 years of job security and good pay. Why the hell would he? Why would he take a pay cut now to go somewhere? Like, if I'm a Chelsea fan, can't believe I just said that sentence. If I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm like legitimately like not happy with this. I know it's like fun to spend the money. When Enzo Fernandez is like a good player, and like some of these other guys they signed can be good players. There's no doubt about that. Like they can absolutely be good, whatever. But this is really just putting you in a weird spot. It just really is. I don't love it, and it's not great. Talking about like the health of everything overall, it's not great when a club can just spend like $300 million, and it's like, well, whatever.
Well, you're going to see the backlash from the fans if they don't have any type of even instant success, because if they can't even make it back to a European spot from this 10th place, even after spending all this money, the fans are going to grow restless too. Hey, you spent all our money. We have all these players who suck or just can't play in our system, and we can't get rid of them. And the fans are gonna.
Well, it's nice because they spent all that money. They spent like £288 million, I think, and they've scored 22 goals. So they've been spending like £13 million per goal this year. So it's fine. It's totally cool, totally normal. Christian Eriksen picked up an ankle injury. He's out till like April, May, which is a huge loss for United because he's been like truly just like the metronome for them this year. So they loaned Sabitzer as a replacement, who's at Bayern, was struggling a little bit, just couldn't find his place. Tale as old as time. Interested in that? I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Is he really a number 10?
He's like more like a number 8, but he can. Eriksen was playing more as an 8 this year. I would say he was not really playing as a 10. Eriksen has not really played a 10 in a while.
Ten Hag
even at Inter, he was playing more.
Ten Hag was having him playing like a 4-2-3-1 with him as like that center guy.
No, Fernandez was playing that. Like he was playing like holding like with like Casemiro, or like it was like Casemiro, Fred, Eriksen, and some sort of 3. With like Fernandez playing in the like more advanced role. His role has been really interesting this year. He's been like responsible a lot for like build up play and things like that. Sabitzer can do some of that for you too. He can obviously like break lines a little bit, get forward. So I am curious to see how that works out. I like Sabitzer. He was someone that I actually kind of wanted Liverpool to take a sniff at because we only signed one midfielder in the last 4.5 years. So whatever. Keylor Navas to Nottingham Forest. What?
This is I saw. If you have your bingo cards out, here's my FIFA reference for the podcast.
I already know what reference you're gonna make.
What?
Julio Cesar.
Yeah. So I saw it online today. It was like it showed Keylor Navas with his fuck card with Nottingham Forest, and they were like, "This is the same picture," and it was Julio Cesar when he went to QPR. Shout out your brother, right?
My brother, big QPR fan. And they might get promoted this year. I got to text him about that, actually.
So what does this make you think about, like, Forest right now, though? Like,
No fucking
again,
clue.
like they spend all this money. Now they got a big name, like, goalkeeper. But
they just have a casual, like, 4-time Champions League winner at their club now who, like, this is a team that might get relegated. This is a team that genuinely might get relegated, and has Keylor Navas playing for them. I know he's not, like, at his total peak what he was in, like, 17, 18, 16, 17 of Real Madrid, but Christ alive, this guy was at PSG playing very well still. And he's at a team that might legitimately get relegated. I mean, I know as a Liverpool fan, I'm not, like, part of, like, the 99%ers here, and it's like, man, this is just insane. But it's like, Christ, I mean, even I'm recognizing, like, this is just, it's getting crazy. This is crazy.
It's the Prem Minute.
I have no idea what Nottingham Forest are doing. They're truly just team, because I think this is perfect. This truly sums up Nottingham Forest and just to a T. Keylor Navas on loan. Do you know who else they acquired this winter, Dom?
No.
John Joe Shelby. Imagine both of them being unveiled at the same time. Both of them being unveiled at the same time. John Joe Shelby next to Keylor Navas. Is there a better image to represent Nottingham Forest right now? I mean, good luck.
Well, you know that
they signed Dean Henderson on loan. Like they
you know that picture of the Bugatti and, like, the
underneath the yeah. It's weird.
It's Nottingham Forest every time they take the field now.
Spurs get Pedro Porro from Sporting Club de Portugal. Didn't seem like this was going to happen. It felt like it fell apart, and then they renegotiated some things, got it done, got it over the line. You got very animated.
Yeah, again, another. This was obviously fan fabricated rumors again with Milan. I'm a homer. Like, I'm always going to find a way to bring it back to my club. Again,
I respect the bit.
Again, off the top bins bingo board, Dom tries to bring the point back to his favorite team. Again, somebody. It's been a while. You could have stepped in if he was looking to be sold, from Sporting. Again, money. Hey, we need a right back. Calabria's ass. So, but yeah, what is this stuff that's going on between Pedro Porro and allegedly Joao Felix? Is there something? I saw something on Twitter that was kind of talking about, like, I forget what, like, situation they were trying to relate it to, but I guess there was something with, like, Joao Felix's girlfriend and Pedro Porro. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I have no clue, brother.
Okay.
We're on different sides of Twitter, I think.
Somebody let me know on Twitter. I didn't do my digging into the comments to try to see what they were talking about, but I did see some things. I was very confused, but they're not even playing on the same team, so I don't even know why people were trying to bring forth, like, some type of relation to another soccer controversy. But I don't know. Somebody let me know. I thought you may have seen something.
I honestly, I've no clue.
Shall we move on?
Might as well just speaking Japanese to me. So that's a good signing. It's a right back signing. They sent out Jed Spence on loan. Just seems like a guy that I don't get it with Spurs sometimes, some of their decisions. But Pedro Porro seems good. We'll see though, because I thought Jed Spence was going to be a good signing for them. Has not worked out. He's been loaned out to France. Anthony Gordon to Newcastle from Everton. Not a great player. I'm surprised at this from Newcastle. I don't see it. I don't get it. He's like just an average Premier League player. Now for his age, that's kind of nice, because he's a younger player, homegrown. Like there's some nice things there, but I do not get it. I do not see it. Everton should have snapped Chelsea's hand off for the 50 whatever million. Instead they only got like 40 million from Newcastle. There was a fantastic compilation on YouTube of his goals. There are 3 of them. 2 of them are heavy deflections. This is a man that just got bought for 40 million. Do I need to remind people that that's what Liverpool paid for, like, Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, whatever? What do you do with this stuff? Where do you go?
It's crazy,
Sadio Mane this past summer went even for
some of the fees that players are going for these days.
He's such an average, and I will eat
like
my
think
words
of-
if one day he develops into something great. But he's such an average player.
Wait, how much money was spent again?
I'm pretty sure it's 40 million.
Like 30 million more was like what Barcelona spent for Neymar. Like, it wasn't Neymar like in
Well,
the
that was a
70s,
very
80s,
long time
like,
ago. That was like,
but this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like,
that's what they spent. That did not count the prostitutes for his father and all the extra stuff. The actual fee is like double that. But
what was Cristiano Ronaldo from? Now we're obviously going super far back in time, but like
that was 80. That was 80.
But this is what I'm saying though is like, think about the money that players these days are going for, and like what that
in the
could
last
get you.
4 years, it has been an exponential rise.
Crazy.
This last year and a half has been nuts.
Yeah,
Absolutely nuts.
It's crazy
in terms of prices. It's obscene. And I got to say, as a Liverpool fan too, in a team that really needs their midfield kind of rebuilt, seeing Enzo Fernandez go for like 120 million is like, Christ. Like,
yeah.
What do you?
Yeah, you're thinking about that. I think how I'm thinking about it, seeing what these players are going for, and now they know what they can get from England. What makes them want to go play in a different country?
It's insane. People really snuffed at the Super League idea. It's already
apparently, there's some talks that the Super League could still be in existence. And,
of course
and whatnot.
it is. They're just waiting to rebrand it in some dumb way.
Mm-hmm.
Jorginho to Arsenal from Chelsea for 12 million.
It's interesting.
Not bad midfield depth. Like, he's a
Depth
good rotation option. And they needed that. They didn't really have. They're dependent a very lot on Xhaka and Partey's health for the rest of the season, and Partey not being, shall we say, put in prison like you. Very different charges.
Way different, dude.
Very different. Very different allegations there.
Let's just say I will not be beat up on my first day in prison.
Let me just say, this is like a transfer that you see every now and again where it's like, this guy just didn't want to have to move out of London, and it's like, it's probably like, it's not a transfer that makes a ton of sense, but it makes a lot more sense when you consider this guy just did not feel like having to move his family, and it's like, fair enough. From that perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's terrible though. I think he's fine midfield depth. He's really not a bad player at all. I think people have a tendency to like really like pile on him, and it's not totally necessary.
I think people don't appreciate the role that he offers to a team. He's not the flashy player. He's not going on big, long runs. He's not scoring the goals. He may not even be getting the assist, but he's the guy that sets up the assist. He's the guy that sits back, makes sure your team can keep possession and picks out a pass. Very Andrea Pirlo-esque in that sense, right? Where he's that deep-lying playmaker type guy.
And lest we forget, top 3 in Ballon d'Or voting. I mean, what more do you want?
I mean, think about it. The Euros 2 years ago, this was the guy that was crucial to Italy's success. I mean, he's still got good years left in him, and the fact that he goes to Arsenal and is considered not even a starter right now, but this is the guy that, like, when you think of the depth at those midfield positions, right? It's Xhaka, it's Partey, then El Neni. That's a big drop off, and El
Neni's dealing with injury too, so that's
So you bring in Jorginho, now you have a 3-man rotation that is really, really like dangerous, no matter who the combination is. I mean, you could even some days give one of your attackers a rest and play a 4-3-3 and have all 3 of them in there with Jorginho in the middle, kind of just chilling. It's really, really interesting about some of the schemes that Arteta can maybe run with this Arsenal team now that they bring him in. I'm interested to see how he gets on, because this could be a signing. Arsenal's kind of doing those things, little bits and pieces now. Like,
they had a very interesting January.
They want to make sure that they win the league. Right, so they have to be smart with their signings.
This one was just for me because it was very funny. Danjuma was going to go to Everton.
This story is crazy.
He did his media thing. He did all of it. It's essentially like they're just waiting to like
Didn't he like pledge his loyalty too? Like in a interview or something? Like he
literally
said to the
did the
fans?
media interview. You know how they, like when you sign a player, they do that little sit down and like the wherever and like the whatever it is, like Everton TV correspondent like has a little chat with him. He's like, "Welcome to the club. How you feel?" They did all that. All that. They had it ready to go. Then they were ready to hit yes, upload. And this man was like, "Actually, I'm down in London. And I'm kind of feeling like maybe I should stay in London."
The wry smile that he had, like the expression on his face when he took the picture, when he sighed, it's like, what did I just do? But he's like, he's like so glad that he avoided the dumpster fire that is ever.
I'm just going to say this. Antonio Conte was sick this week, and I hope he's feeling better. Apparently, he had to get his gallbladder removed.
Jeez.
I'm just saying maybe an Everton fan sent him some bad food or something. Because if I'm an Everton fan, I'm pissed. Because this is a guy that maybe can come in and like make the difference between you staying up or not. And Spurs just absolutely gazumpy to him. And honestly, Spurs don't. I don't know. Like, do they need Danjuma? Like, this doesn't feel like a pressing need for Spurs. And
because where does he really fit? He's like a winger. But he doesn't play fullback. Like
he can play across the front
striker.
He can play across the front. Really more of a winger. Is like
it's almost like a Bergwijn.
It's
It's like a Bergwijn signing. That's like what it is. It's like where does he kind
eerily
of fit
similar
in?
actually, because Steven Bergwijn was signed in January and their next game that he was eligible to play in was Manchester City, which he obviously famously scored in. So, you know, if you're just looking to make some money this weekend, this is similar to your Monza prison. So maybe next week I'll be in jail for telling you maybe just consider Danjuma to score any time against Manchester City. That, you know, like history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So who knows?
Hey, here we go. Maybe the bars are on the other side of the screen next week. Let's see.
Just promise. Don't let my dogs get cold out there.
It's all right. I'll send you some money at the Romanian prison. It's all good.
Okay, thanks. Premier League spent £815 million this January, which very obviously dwarfs every other league.
That can buy a team.
That could buy a lot of teams. Like that could buy probably every club bar like 2 in SerieA. So
it's crazy.
It's fine.
It's okay.
I don't know why I was worried.
It's fine.
I mean, I think SerieA spent like 70-something million total.
Everything's normal. This is the world.
It is. I did see if you tallied up all the other like 4 major leagues, their total spending and times that by 4, then you'd be. It's almost like the American. You ever see like the U.S. Military budget spending, and it's like
compared to everything else.
If you added like the next 19 countries together, it would still be only like a quarter of what the U.S. spends. That's like what this is. It is like a true arms race with just themselves. I don't know who the Premier League is competing with anymore. Who are you?
And yet, now listen. How many in the last 10 years? How many times has a Premier League team won the Champions League?
Well, I can tell you, in 1920, my friend, one of the best nights of my life. Liverpool did it. In the last decade, twice, right?
Chelsea and Liverpool, right?
Chelsea and Liverpool, off the top of my head. Yeah.
It's crazy that Premier League teams have the ad money, the TV revenue, the fan revenue, all this stuff to pay out all this money, yet what's all this money going to? Just to be competitive in the Premier League? Because it's obviously not always going towards being competitive in Europe, which is the goal of a top tier.
I also technically,
European
I actually think
team.
for the last 10 years, I think technically it's not. Chelsea's not even in that anymore. That was 2012. I think it was the 11.
No, they won it. They won it a couple years ago.
Oh shit! Yeah, Christ, that was the COVID.
Yeah,
completely blanked that out of my mind.
That one doesn't count. That one doesn't count.
Only certain. Let me reel that in. Only certain achievements. I think if you won the Premier League that year, actually, it was really a testament to how good you were, and that you were really, if you think about it, it's actually, I be honest.
Listen, not all of us can.
That had totally been erased out of my mind. I think in general,
not all of us can win trophies when fans are in the stadium.
We won 2 last year with fans.
I'm talking about Chelsea. I'm talking about Chelsea. Not all of us can win the league when fans are allowed in the stadiums.
Brother, I got some incriminating evidence to you if you want to stay in that jail for another night. I do think England have been pretty good in Europe recently. I would say like they were really bad from like 13 to like 17. There was like just really
yes. I remember that being a big
there was really no
talking
one
point.
European wise. Like City made the semis in 15, 16. I remember they played Madrid, but like outside of that, not a lot of threat in the latter stages of the Champions League. In the last few years, I mean, you've had 2 All English finals in the last 4 years, which is impressive. And Liverpool have been in 3 of the last 5 finals, and City have been in one of those. Like you've had Chelsea in those, you had Spurs in those, and like at the latter stages, like City have been in the semis, like. For a lot of those, like I don't know. I think.
But see, this is the thing is like, I'm perfectly okay. Like if you're a team that is going that far, like you should have the money to spend, right? The biggest issue that I have is that we said it earlier. Teams like Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, like all of these like lower tier, lower end teams where we kind of just look at them and think all of their players are absolute shit, but like they're getting paid crazy compared to players in top teams in other countries.
Yeah, I mean, you literally have like teams that could legitimately be relegated, teams that are promoted to the Premier League that are outspending champions of other leagues, and not just like of like the Romanian league or whatever. Like I know you're very familiar with them because of your time there now, but like outspending your Milans, right? Outspending Juventus, outspending Real Madrid. Like it's just. It's crazy. Like it is. It is crazy when you consider just like the money that is in the Premier League, and that's because just for staying in it, you get like 130 million, just for being there, just for showing up. So it's crazy. It is
130 million.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's
crazy.
That's the TV revenue, baby. That's just for being in the league. There you go. There's your TV revenue. There's for existing. And if you get relegated, you get parachute payments for 3 years too. Of like 80, 50 million.
You know what's really funny is I've seen on Twitter SerieA fans saying that SerieA should not be like the TV rights shouldn't be sold to someone like CBS Sports, that less Americans should be watching it and all this stuff. Like there's this big like nationalistic like idea that like to bring the league back, they have to make it just more available in Italy to Italians and this and that. Like nobody else should be watching SerieA. Like that's going to help the league. Like if you want your top teams to have top tier revenue in your continent, you have to be a global brand.
Italy was a global brand
and Italy
in
was,
the late 90s.
And I would say maybe 3 teams in the league are a global brand and they still have issues, competing with these English teams, even hell, competing with the top teams in Spain or even Bayern when it comes to paying out money to all of these players to bring in top tier talent to your teams. You're either signing players on the twilights of their career, like, past their prime, or you're taking a gamble on a young talent that may not work out. And you're not, because you can't spend the 120, 150 mil for the proven young talent, and you can't spend the 200 mil for a top tier world-class player in their prime. There's just no way. And we go back 10, 20 years. Yeah, Italy's the league that's doing it. Spain was the league that was doing it in the early 2010s, i.e. it was, granted it was their top 2-3 teams, but teams like Valencia and Sevilla and other teams like that could put out some money and bring in players. Now it's just England. England has a monopoly. Like you said, it's an arms race for themselves. I don't know how other countries are going to catch up.
Yeah, I mean it's a gap that's only going to grow, if I'm being honest. Like it's just there's more and more money being added to the Premier League. Yeah, I think teams like leagues like SerieA should be trying to invest in that. Is how the Premier League has gotten to the level that it is not just even the US market, but the Asian market too. Like you sell these TV rights for like $1-2 billion. Guess where that money's going? To the teams now. so they can reinvest, and like just that gap can constantly be getting close. I will say too, we're not shilling for Paramount and all this, but I will say like they have stepped up the production value and stuff, and that is
It's
important.
good.
When you're watching on TV, it is important that the sound sounds right, and that the quality of the video is good, and that there's like maybe for some people too, like they like a good pre-match or that they have good commentate. Like the shit matters, and England has invested in that. They know what people like. They've packaged their product well, and it has worked. And you're seeing the fruits of that now, where they can just spend insane amounts of money and more than anyone else, and it just brings even more talent and views in now too. Like everyone, even if you're hate watching, you're still watching.
Yeah, I think the pundits that they have with CBS are pretty good. I will say that, like their pre-match, their post-match, halftime, that kind of stuff. With SerieA and the Champions League, I mean, you gotta remember, like CBS has Champions League as well, so it's not bad right now for SerieA
Don't
to
forget
be
the Europa
partnered
League
with that.
either, brother.
Well, yeah, all European champion. You got all UEFA, right there, and you got SerieA, which is good for Italy. But like, so I think that the pundits that CBS has with Paramount Plus is really good. I think that they could do better maybe with their in-game commentary. It's all like some of the pundits do it every now and then. It depends on what the game is and where it's at and things like that. Like it's a little still offsetting. It's almost kind of I'm still feeling like I'm watching a game on beIN Sports in the early 2010s, but like they're on the up and up. I mean, but I'm just gonna have to jump to the next streaming service when the rights get sold. Because if there's a better lucrative deal, the league has to go with it. Point blank.
Looking ahead to this weekend in the Premier League, nothing crazy. Everton versus Arsenal this weekend. That should be fun, right? Sean Dyche.
Dubs.
Sean Dyche throwing his hat in the ring to mess up another title race, perhaps. Spurs, Man City. Looking for that Manchester United Leeds on midweek next week before we have our show. So we'll get to break that one down, which should be exciting. If you want to, like, I don't know, really hate yourself, you can watch Wolves Liverpool. I'm sure that's going to be an awful game. We have a great one this weekend, Dom. It's Milan Derby. Intervention.
Yeah, if you want to hate your life, if you love the red and black, I mean, you can go ahead and watch that.
These
Marcelo
games
Brozovic with the goal. Watch.
Have perennially delivered in the entertainment factor. So.
Hey, we may both end up in jail. I'm telling you right now, Marcelo Brozovic, anytime goal scorer. Lock that one in. Easily. He always kills Milan.
I'm just over it,
I'm going to jail with you. I'm going to jail with you, dude. I'm just gonna.
That's fine with me. That's fine with me. We'll be bunks. Yeah, no huge games in Italy besides that this weekend. Just looking through, like Roma, Empoli. There's something there. That could be fun.
Empoli could be,
I believe Roma Empoli is like a mini derby. That's like it's like a Tuscany thing.
The battle of the provincial teams. I see.
Yeah. There's some small rivalry there, I believe. Sassuolo, Atalanta, that could be fun too. But yeah, no like big meaty matches this weekend. So yeah, that's what you guys look forward to. We'll be back next week. It's been fun hanging with you. See ya.